Major General Orvil Anderson was a true pioneer of military aviation. His career began during the age of the dirigible and continued through both world wars. Along the way, he set groundbreaking aviation records, won numerous awards and commendations, and developed brilliant new tactics for aerial combat that helped redefine the role of air power in combat.
Our fighters peel off to meet the enemy threat, and the battle is on.
Anderson, a Utah native, attended Brigham Young University from 1914 to 1916. The following year, during the height of World War I, he enlisted in the aviation section of the U.S. Army Signal Corps as a private. His goal? To become an aviator. Anderson was told by an Army recruiter that he would be flying within weeks of enlisting, but once his official request for flight training was submitted, nothing happened. Undaunted, Anderson went instead to Balloon Observer School and won a commission as a second lieutenant. Soon, Anderson's exploits in lighter-than-air flight would land him in the record books. He served as both pilot and navigator of the record-breaking first transcontinental airship flight in 1926. Almost a decade later, Anderson would make history again as one of the pilots of a daring high-altitude balloon expedition called Explorer 1. The National Geographic Army Air Corps stratospheric expedition was designed to see how high a balloon could rise into the atmosphere. The Explorer 1's first attempt failed in 1934 when the massive hydrogen-filled balloon burst at an altitude of over 60,000 feet. Anderson and his crew were forced to bail out and parachute to safety. The next year, Anderson once again tried to break the high-altitude record in Explorer 2. Launching from the Stratosphere Bowl in Rapid City, South Dakota, Anderson achieved a record-breaking altitude of 72,395 feet, a record that stood for 16 years and represented man's highest journey above the Earth at the time.
Captains Anderson and Stevens reached heights no man had ever reached before, explorers of the stratosphere. The balloon rose almost 14 miles above the Earth and landed safely.
On the heels of his record-setting ascent, Anderson was already looking toward the future. He realized that airplanes could easily surpass the capabilities of airships in battle. So in 1933, he recommended that the Army Air Corps discontinue its airship programs in favor of fixed-wing craft.
The P-26, our first metal-covered fighter in production, joined the Air Force in the early 30s.
When World War II began, Anderson's strategic thinking became a major asset to the military. He held several top-level positions in planning and operations, ultimately serving as Deputy Commander for Operations of the 8th Air Force under Major General James Doolittle.
How many do you want to peel off? Well, General, we're spreading over a pretty wide area there.
In January of 1944, Anderson persuaded General Doolittle to order the fighter pilots of the 8th Air Force to pursue the Germans until they are destroyed. Until then, escorting fighters from both Germany and the U.S. had been used primarily to protect bomber formations. Anderson recognized that by freeing American fighters from a defensive role and allowing them to attack enemy fighters directly, the Americans would gain air superiority. By the end of World War II, Anderson had attained the rank of Major General and was the recipient of numerous awards, including the Distinguished Service Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, the Legion of Merit, the Distinguished Flying Cross with oak leaf cluster, the Air Medal, and the Legion of Honor. It was at this point in his career that Major General Anderson faced another turning point. Believing that the future lay in developing new generations of Air Force thinkers, Major General Anderson agreed to become the founding commandant of the new Air War College, located at Maxwell Field in Alabama. General Andy, as he was known, successfully established the educational policies and procedures that paved the way for generations of warfighters. Major General Orvil Anderson was a true pioneer of aviation. His genius, bravery, and determination were evident throughout his long career and have earned him a significant place in the history of flight.